morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. It's my pleasure to be here again. And when you hear my voice, it means that the coronavirus is giving way in China because due to the coronavirus, everything was blocked so that we shouldn't communicate with the outside world and tell them how it's ravaging in China. So, when you live in a totalitarian, restrictive environment, that's what happens. Because they hide everything. They are even afraid of their own shadows. So, it's a pleasure once more to be here. Duane, I would start by talking about the coronavirus. There's an African new friend who asked me, what does Duane say about the coronavirus? So I told him that I wouldn't know until Saturday when I asked Duane. So Duane, can you say something about this coronavirus for this African friend?
Did you investigate where this originally came from?
You mean the coronavirus?
Well, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone is pointing fingers at China, that it originated from here. Especially Donald Trump is calling it the China virus, and people are pissed off that he's being a racist or something like that. But the truth is that it originated here, and I hear it's a bioweapon. It's a bioweapon gone rogue, something like that. I don't know. Scientists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, we keep referencing these stories and the scientists and whatever, and what you see in the news mainly. So, and we know that's a lot of marketing. And yes, they're creating things all the time, like they did. Ebola and any of these other things they've created, and what's in the anything anything that's in the vaccines and what have you. So because we're here, they see us on the real side. These things are occurring, and so what is the idea of the new presentation? The idea of the new presentation is learn to become self-sufficient on all levels, and this is not something overnight. It can take a person lifetimes. It's just that now you are just familiar with the information, and it's a starting point. And so we already know, we've already experienced what we have here: the evidence, chemtrails, GMO food, Wi-Fi, HARP, etc. All these things. There's evidence of this, and we see what they're doing and why are they doing this. All right, so. Because first of all, we're here and they want to control the public, and I don't see a reason. I haven't said anything about this in Facebook or whatever, because for the most part they're utilizing this to market fear and panic. And even down here where we're at over here, see people with gloves on, with masks on, etc. Actually, it's kind of like the flu. Until you get it, are you going to create fear and panic about it? So again, if you're in the middle of it, yeah, that's a different thing. Just like we've had a lot of rain down here, so we have to deal with it. So whatever is next, we have to deal with. But I'm not going to market the idea that, oh, gee, we're going to have flash floods here because it's going to rain. And so it's the same thing. The new presentation and, the real guides, etc. Again, the whole idea is to learn to become self-sufficient so you can take care of yourself. This is how you get to the real universes. And it's not through panic and fear. Not at all. and looking for the remedy, etc. So, again, most people will go back to the old ways where they're looking for someone to figure it out for them. They're looking for, a savior to do it for them, to heal them, etc. And what we've come to know is that it's through our real awareness that it is us, each one of us individually, that decides to figure this out for ourselves. And then through that, we can share it like I have the new presentation. So again, everything makes sense. So you see most people, because again, they've been rehearsed to, the old ways, look to authorities, look to the scientists, look to the politicians, etc., thinking that there's an answer there. Well, what you get is stories. You get sound good stories. And is that going to do it for you? So if you've got a headache, do you listen to sound good stories, or do you take an aspirin? Whatever you've come to know, and then more so. So again, here is the new presentation. It's the step up to become self-sufficient. So that takes a lot to figure that out. But going back to the old ways of looking to science, the government, etc., is that going to do it? Especially praying to the God. So this is where most people, they're looking for miracles, which are really marketing ploy. So again, if the virus hits, if you get the flu, if you get a cold, if you get sick, if you get malaria, smallpox, polio, whatever, these are the challenges that each one of us has to eventually recognize our real awareness. So we learn to deal with it, and if we don't, then we don't recognize our real awareness. So this is the challenge, and whatever's taken place in creation, because we've all contributed to creation, and until we meet our creations, well, we can't get past them. So everything that's being created and decided upon, it's not like, oh, that person over there did it or whatever. We're all part of this, and as we meet this, we become more aware, you see? Yeah, that's the step further than going back into the old ways, looking to the authorities for an answer, and they're just going to give you stories, aren't they? So whether it's happening or not, well, you take up the challenge to face it, deal with it, figure it out, and you can. Everything can be figured out. It may take you lifetimes, but you can do it. So here's where you start. Go ahead.
Okay, Duane. That was like a general admonishment. Thank you. Okay, the new presentation is about freedom from the matrix of creation. And also this will lead to freedom from all entanglements, subtle and gross. Okay, they say knowledge of something brings about an attitude, which can be considered an amp up in awareness. So what I want to know is whether we can have freedom through knowledge of what you are presenting, Duane.
Actually not, simply because you simply have the idea of it. Again, what I'm presenting, whether it's through talking like this, speaking, or writing, this is reference. And so again, it's interesting how the personal self is. The personal self wants to get on with its personal life. So what it does is it takes in the so-called knowledge and wisdom, thinking that that will eventually lead to what they want. We'll just use the idea of real freedom. No, it will not. So you have to take that reference, and you have to learn to recognize through steps or however it is, your real awareness, and you become the actuality of that real freedom. But that is a recognition on your part, and the knowledge starts it off, but the knowledge is not an absolute. See, that's the fallacy that people have been presented with, thinking that they just because they have the knowledge, that, oh my goodness, they will, I will have real freedom. No, you have to figure it out. You know, it's like getting your driver's license. Just because you got the driver's license doesn't mean you can drive. You got to go out there and drive the car, and you got to figure that out. And probably a few times you're going to run off the road until you do, and you can quit, or you can keep going until you become really the good driver. But the license itself does not make you a driver, does it?
Yeah, actually it does.
Yeah, the Nupresentation is the next step from what we've been through. So those things that we've come to know, even what Paul presented, was the first steps. It's kind of like elementary school. You went through the first, you went through high school, through the first 12 grades. That was elementary. Now you're at the college and university level. So even to get to the university, you have to take certain classes, your pre-classes or whatever, just to get there and keep going, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like a bag of tea dropping into hot water. All of a sudden, wow, you have tea, you have your little drink. No, there's a huge process to it, more so. And it's also facing all those things that have been near and dear to you in the personal self, because those are your effects. And until you face your effects and your restrictions, how can you, see through them? But most people want to drag them along, and it's not going to work.